everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised. Hi.
Hello, you. You look so colourful.
Thanks. It's because I'm going to the Twickenham 60s Day today, so I'm super excited. Down Church Street, which is cute, pedestrianised part of Twickenham. They're going to have stages and music, and I'm really excited because my cousin from Brazil is over with her husband, so we just get to have a lovely day. So I wore a dress that I thought was 60s-ish because I didn't really feel like going all out with costume, because when I get involved in a costume,
you're all out.
And I couldn't do that to myself at the moment because
I remember your Queen Victoria. That was insane.
Yeah, that was for the Jubilee.
That was unreal day. You went all out.
That was pretty good. That's when I met my local MP. And she did not recognize me next time. I was like, I'm not dressed as Queen Victoria every time, every day, just most days that I'm working from home. But yeah, so didn't have time to sort out a full-on costume because I just got back from Slovenia, punk rock holiday, which I loved. Like, it's such a lovely festival because, most festivals are like in a field in the middle of nowhere. This is in the middle of a national park and forest. So it's really stunning views of mountains. It's the Slovenian Alps. So it's gorgeous. Like, you wake up, you see these mountains with the mist coming off of them. And it's got a river that comes off the glacier. So it's bright blue. So it's a stunning area.
Really, I'm so ignorant about Slovenia. How awful is that? But when you sent me your location, I went and zoomed in on your location and I was like, you're on this little island just surrounded by water. It looked
Oh, yeah, because you messaged me on the day after we went to this festival, which is in the Tolmin area, which is sort of a mountainous region. We went to Ljubljana for a couple of days and we had a day trip to Lake Bled, which was stunning. And they have it's the lake that has this little island in the middle of the lake, which has a church on it. So when you messaged me, I was like, I'm in Slovenia. And I sent you my location. I was actually on the island. I went for a swim in that lake. It was just gorgeous. And also, I loved it. Some people will get this, right? But when I pick holiday destinations, I think about their reaction to me as a Palestinian, because I don't want to go on holiday somewhere that is anti-Palestinian, because it's not nice having even microaggressions against you on holiday, right?
Yeah, so regardless of any ethnicity or anything, you don't want to
Exactly. So I know, for example, my Black friends, my gay friends, they get it when they're picking their holiday destinations. That comes into play, And Slovenia is one of the first countries to recognize Palestine. And it's definitely, now that I know more about their history, because we did a couple of tours and I read a bit about it, it's definitely linked to their own journey to self-determination and separating from Yugoslavia and so forth, that they have this in them, that you as a people should be able to have your right to your own
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
But they're so proud of the fact that they were one of the first countries. So they, everyone I told I'm Palestinian, they were like, oh, which is nice. It's nice. It's better than the alternative, which I was talking to someone at Punk Rock Holiday, because punks are obviously very socially aware and politically aware. That's part of the nature of that genre of music. So there was a lot of Free Palestine stuff everywhere. A lot of the bands, the big bands, had Palestinian flags on the stage and everything, which was lovely. But I was telling someone, this is new for me, because honestly, it's only in the last couple of years that we've had this kind of public support. Before that, it was not like that.
It was not maybe just conversations with people in the background and not actually publicly being out there.
Yeah. And I would be nervous about going to places and people's reaction to me when I told them I'm Palestinian. And the amount of times got ridiculous that I would, before, I'd say I'm Palestinian. Oh, you're not Hamas, are you? No, I'm not Hamas. Oh, but you condemn Hamas. Yes, I condemn Hamas. It's like, come on, we're out having a meal. Do I need to condemn Hamas? Do you know what I mean? Constantly
that's so
having
sad.
To justify my political beliefs because of who I am and this, that, and the other before people will accept me as a person they can talk to.
It's just people's ignorance, though, and not understanding.
So, and things are really shit back home. So sometimes I do like to bask in the public support and the solidarity because it's nice and it's new and it does help.
And also there was, presumably there was alcohol and loads of amazing music as well. So this must have been like the best holiday.
Oh, it was amazing. Like, it's not the first time I've been to this festival. I think I've gone like 4 times because it's so lovely. You basically have the beach stage. So you sit and you drink your giant melon ball cocktails on the beach with live music in the background. Good. Some of like the bands that I adore were there, some Friends bands, Darko, and some bands that...
Is that Lisa?
No, Leslie is in a band.
Sorry, Leslie.
It's one of her bands that she manages. Mm-hmm. So Leslie was there. More on that to follow. Also, Madball. I love some fucking New York hardcore. I can't deny it. And Madball were just like... So that was fun. Yeah, it was great. And lots of my friends were there. So it was awesome.
Is that the last year, though, you said?
Well, they got a mayor who's trying to stop the music festivals there. So it's in a national forest. And from what I understood, the national forest for about a month has a couple of different festivals. And that helps them with their income because obviously they charge money to the event organizers. But apparently that area has a mayor who's trying to stop the music festivals. But his term is only a couple of years. So the next mayor might not have that attitude. It's unclear whether this is the last year, next year's the last year, or whether it'll continue. So I just felt like, well, I'm still in my early 40s and camping for a week is still an option. But what I was going to say is that we've got a couple more events coming up that other people listening might be able to join us.
Yes, please.
Yep, CrimeCon in Manchester.
Whoop, whoop. 27th of September.
And more than just attending, Isla, Criminally Good Books, you are going to be the official bookshop there.
Yeah, we're the official bookshop. Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm roping you in, Dee. You'll have to be on your best behavior when serving people.
I will have my best customer service voice on. And yeah, we've got some amazing speakers and amazing books that we'll have there. It's always a good laugh, isn't it? And
I love all the people there. There's
a bunch of other podcasters as well, content creators. So it's just really, really nice little community and really fun. So if you haven't been before, the Manchester one is also a little bit cheaper than the London one. It's a one-day event. I find it less overwhelming because the London one is fucking amazing, but there's about 4 or 5 different rooms of full schedules. So you do have to plan in advance which ones you want to go. We had the awkward situation where there was sometimes like 4 talks at a time that we wanted to go to. And in the end, our ADHD paralysis meant that we went to none of them. You're like, can't pick, won't pick.
Bar.
Yeah, that's how our brain works. So this one is a little bit less hectic, let's say. So it'd be a really good like intro to CrimeCon, I think.
Absolutely. And I was speaking to some customers just yesterday about it. A lady came in and she worked at Manchester, I want to say Piccadilly Library in Manchester, just off Piccadilly. And I just said, oh, I'm going to Manchester on the 27th. And she's like, oh, that's so close to me. And she said, what are you doing there? And I said, CrimeCon. She's like, what's CrimeCon? And I told her, and she's like, I have to go. So people in Manchester don't, it's the first time. So some people don't know about it. So it's obviously a lot smaller. But yeah, it'll be cool because they basically, so I'm just going to be getting all the books from the speakers, but also we're going to have our biggest sellers of like true crime books and stuff that we like, Dee, and just have it there and just chat to people. So it'll be fun.
And basically the way that they normally do it is that they have a bunch of the authors of these books actually there, usually presenting at one of the talks. And then they do like book signings as well. So you can come along, you can buy the books, you can have them signed by the actual author, you can listen to them do a little talk. So it's phenomenal. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah. So hopefully people can come join us 27th of September in Manchester, crimecon.co.uk. And then you just follow the links to Manchester, have a little look. It'll be amazing. And then the other thing that I will definitely be at, I'm still working on Isla. Isla wants to be there.
I want to be there. I just have to
Bloody
negotiate.
Scotland.
Yay!
Which is, I think it's more crime fiction. I think they have some true crime stuff. It's International Crime Writing Festival. It's in Stirling and it's the 12th to the 14th-ish of September. BloodyScotland.com. So it's my first year. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's near where we stayed in Doon. Remember when we stayed in Doon?
Yeah, that was awesome. So I'm really excited to see a bit more of Stirling, to catch up with a bunch of friends there. It'll be amazing. So hopefully Isla will also join us. So if you're going to either of those things, drop us a message And make sure you come say hi because we love hanging out with you. We
Definitely.
do. If you ever think, oh, I don't want to disturb him, I don't want to say hi, blah, 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 do disturb us. Do say hi.
Because we will be disturbing you. We'll be going up to everyone.
Yes. I can honestly say one of the greatest pleasures in my life since starting the podcast is having people come up and say, I listened to the podcast. Like, honestly, you'll be my new best friend.
I know. Like, people have come up. I was saying to you, I think yesterday, the day before, people come up, buy a book, and then they go, are you Isla? And I'm like, yes. Because everyone knows Kat. Kat is amazing. Kat is our senior bookseller, and she loves being in front of the camera in terms of like photographs in the shop, and she's amazing.
And she does amazing socials.
She does amazing stuff. She's so good. But people kind of recognize Kat because like she does like a lot, she's in a lot of the videos. Whereas I need things scripted. If I'm in the shop and I'm doing like a little like reel or whatever, I'm like, oh, I've got to practice. But this feels so natural for me talking to you. So this doesn't need to be scripted. But in the shop, I'm like, oh, I'm a bit more nervous. But it's really nice when people come in and they go, are you Isla? Like I've heard your podcast. And I'm like, have you? Have you? And then and we've got the pile of stickers at the counter. And I'm like, can I take one? And anyone that buys a true crime book gets a sticker, and then they start listening, and then they come back. And I do apologize to every single person because I say sorry about the swearing. Most people go, it's fine, but a couple of people have gone, yeah. So I'm like, oh well, can't help it sometimes. But yeah, it's just so nice though when people.
I know, because like you said, this is so natural to us, just chit-chatting and whatever. So sometimes we forget
that anyone else
there's other people listening.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, all right. Well, so last episode was part 1 on Danilo Restivo. Today is part 2. So I thought I would summarize part 1 for you because it's been a week. I just thought that'd be quite useful. And then today we're going to travel to another location for the remainder of the case. So in part 1, we travel to the often overlooked southern Italian region of Basilicata, home of the cave churches, ghost towns, delicious bread, and one of Italy's most disturbing cold cases. In 1993, 16-year-old Elisa Claps vanished after going to church in the town of Potenza. What began as a typical Sunday quickly turned into a nightmare for her family, who faced police indifference, witness contradictions, and a local suspect who somehow kept on slipping through the cracks, Danilo Restivo, a socially awkward young man with a history of very bizarre behavior, including tying up children and cutting women's hair. Restivo claimed that he briefly spoke to Elisa at the church that morning before she disappeared, but inconsistencies in his story, a suspicious injury to his hand, and a powerful father all hinted at something far more sinister. As the Claps family fought tirelessly to keep Elisa's name in public eye, they were met with hoax calls, false sightings, institutional incompetence, and a tangled web of distractions. One suspect, an Albanian man named Eris Gega, was arrested, while Elisa's friend Eliana repeatedly changed her story and even impersonated witnesses in anonymous tip-offs. Meanwhile, Restivo faced charges for perjury, harassment, but always evaded any real consequences. Despite the mounting evidence, including washed clothes and creepy behavior patterns, the police failed to arrest him for Elisa's disappearance. All this unfolded against a chaotic backdrop of 1990s Italy. There was political scandals, Berlusconi bullshit, mafia influences, making it all too easy for the teenage girl's disappearance to be dismissed as just another runaway. But Restivo's story was far from over. So, part 2. Because this is definitely a case with 2 acts. Because now we're moving over to Bournemouth, the south of England, in Dorset. I love Bournemouth. My godson Monty lives there. Shout out to Monty. He's far too young to listen to this, but maybe he'll listen to it when he's older. And his crazy brother Ozzy and their mum and dad, Kat and Barney. It was recently voted happiest place in England, which I believe.
I've never been.
They go to the beach after school. Do you know what I mean? It's near Sandbanks, which is like a strip of land that sticks out that has like some, multi-million pound properties where lots of celebrities, footballers and so forth live. And this is a part of the story that I remember in real time, but I didn't realize it was part of this bigger story, which I'll explain why later. So I remember at this time hearing about this case. And then when I was reading about this, I was like, yeah, I didn't remember anything that happened after. I just remember this case happening. So loads of foreigners moved to Bournemouth temporarily or longer to learn English. There's lots of English schools and even a university there. Lots of writers have moved there. It's where Jekyll and Hyde was written. Tolkien used to come there on holiday for over 30 years before eventually retiring there. Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, is buried there, as is the heart of her husband.
That's sweet.
Yes, but where is the rest of him?
That was the only bit that mattered.
Yeah. So we're going to Tuesday, the 12th of November, 2002. It was a normal day for the Barnett family. Heather Barnett was a seamstress. She was 48. She was known as Bunny to her friends. She was divorced and she had 2 kids, Terry, 14, and Caitlin, 11. They lived at 211 Capstone Road in a ground floor flat. So as you know, I love to do property porn.
Ooh, cool.
So let me just bring this up and then share it with you.
Okay. Normal house. Looks lovely, nice big house. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that looks, yeah.
You know what I
Right
mean?
near
So it's
the
the
sea.
ground floor flat. So nice area, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, looks lovely.
Probably very nice place to raise kids and so forth. It's like got the right amount of like not big city vibes. So lots of stuff to do, outdoorsy stuff to do with your kids, but then enough to do that when they get to teenage age, they're not like bored and turn to drugs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Heather woke up at 5 a.m. because her cat had been sick in the bedroom that she shared with her daughter. Now, we've both have had cats in our past, so we know what is involved with this. It means being woken up to the sound of
retching. Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, here we go. It's always under the bed, not somewhere easy to clean.
Because they never want to do it in front of you. They want to do it in a little hideaway place, don't they? And you find them like 6 months later, you're like, oh.
Yeah. So we can imagine being woken up to that sound. So not a great start to the day. Then there was the usual getting ready for school, getting the kids ready. She took the kids to school in the car and then she went back home because she works from home as a seamstress. But then soon after getting back, she was interrupted by a knock on the door. Later that day, around 4 p.m., the kids come home from school. There's no response from their mom. They're shouting for her. They can't find her. The radio was on. The sewing machine was out. So she'd obviously taken it out to start work, but it was knocked over. So they could tell, even at their sweet, precious young age, that there was something unusual here. They were looking around for her and they finally found her in the bathroom. Her young kids found her in the bathroom on the floor, covered in blood. So Terry, 14 years old, called the police and he was telling them that she's had pieces cut off of her.
Oh.
There's something particularly cruel, obviously, about a murder, but then committing a murder in a situation where the kids are going to find the mother in this state is like next level cruelty.
That trauma. I mean, so that kid's what, 37 now? 37, or this is 2002?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
So that visual will never leave them, will it?
No.
So the kids left the house. They called the police and then they left the house. Like, no wonder they didn't want to stay in the house waiting for the police. One of their neighbors at that moment pulled up, in front of their house and brought the kids into their house while they waited for the police. When the police arrived, they found Heather in the bathroom, obviously murdered. Her breasts had been severed off and placed next to her. And there were strands of hair in both of her hands. The pathologist worked out that she'd probably been killed soon after dropping off the kids and returning home. It was supported by the fact that there had been a couple of phone calls that had come in like at 10 a.m. that had gone unanswered. So she was probably unable to answer them at that point. She had lacerations on her head and her neck had been slashed. And she'd been slashed actually all over. And many of these injuries were post-mortem after she'd actually died. She had defensive wounds on her hands and she died from the head injuries, likely from a hammer. It looked like she had been first attacked and possibly killed on the patio, so soon after opening the door, and then dragged into the bathroom. The hair in her hands were examined. They were trying to find out, was it her hair? One of the hands held her own hair. It was hair from her own head that had been cut from her head, though. So it wasn't like she'd pulled it out in the struggle or whatever. The other hand, the right hand, contained hair from a different woman. Well, different person, I should say. They didn't know who at the time. There were bloodstained footsteps in the house, but the footsteps stopped abruptly, which implied that the shoes had been taken off and replaced with another pair. That seems premeditated to me, that they had brought another pair of shoes to change into, and that the shoes were Nike size 9 to 11. It also seemed like the killer had brought a change of clothes and obviously someone else's hair. The focus was originally on David Marsh, Heather's former partner. Now, we know that statistically it is usually the spouse or former partner. And so I totally understand why they would focus first, on the first instance, on that person. But there's always a concern that they're going to miss evidence and miss another suspect if they're too focused on someone who isn't, you know what I mean? It must be a difficult balance of like going through the obvious choices, but keeping an open mind in case it's someone else. Terry, the son, in the police interview the next day, it's like, oh, can you imagine a 14-year-old? Their mother's just died. How old are the kids?
14
and 11. So he's, and 14 is like very young adult, isn't it? Like, I don't know what he was like as a person, how mature he was at this age. 14 is also like that weird age where you could be a very small child or you could be very young adulty. You know what I mean? It's a tricky stage of development. But his mother has not just died, been brutally murdered, and he was the one that found the body. And the next day, rather than just being able to grieve, he's got to do a fucking police interrogation. Like, oh, it's just so cruel. Like, obviously they need to talk to him, but it's just the layers of victims and impact that this has is so sad. He said his mum was obsessed with keeping the doors locked because she didn't have money to replace stuff if it got stolen. I mean, she is a divorced mum of 2, so you can assume she didn't have like free-flowing money to just spend left, right, and center. He said that they changed the front door lock only a week before. Heather had left the spare key out when a neighbor came around to discuss a sewing job, and she couldn't find the keys anymore. And so she decided to change the locks. So she obviously has like a level of, I won't say paranoia, but like a heightened sense of security and
security conscious, definitely. If you get 2 kids.
But do you want to know who this neighbor was that came around to discuss a sewing job?
Yeah.
Danilo Restivo.
No.
He had moved to Bournemouth and lived across the road with his then girlfriend, Fiamma Marsengo. And basically, because he gave Heather Barnett the creeps so much, maybe she wouldn't have changed the locks if it was someone else, but he gave her the creeps. And so the thought that he might be the one with her spare keys made her change the locks.
No. Wow. Okay.
Heather even wrote a note to Danilo suggesting he probably accidentally picked up her spare key. She had no response, so she changed the locks.
That is quite bold, like for him to potentially do that, and then for her to be so sure. Like, you don't just go, oh, by the way, I think maybe she knew that he had.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She definitely knew that he had, and she was being polite, saying, oh, it was probably an accident. But actually, another ex of hers said that she was scared of him. So there are reports that she was actively uncomfortable, nervous, around him. Police collected DNA from different neighbors, and Danilo Restivo and his girlfriend submitted DNA samples.
But they would be there anyway. Their DNA would be there if he'd been in the house before.
Yes, exactly. That's the tricky thing. He had legitimately, for legitimate reasons, been in the house. But when the police asked to see shoes that he was wearing on the day of the murder, Danilo Restivo basically pied them off. He showed them his shoes, but they were in the bathtub, soaked in bleach.
Oh my God.
So by coincidence, he just decided to bleach these shoes. Now, I've put shoes in the washing machine when they've been muddy or whatever. I've never soaked shoes in bleach. Police took the shoes, but Danilo Restivo was not considered a suspect. He also showed them, and maybe this is why, he showed them a bus ticket for 8:44 a.m. to go to a crime offenders program to study. So basically he was doing, I don't know if it was like computer courses, but he was going regularly to the center to study and use their computers. Remember, it's 2002. So
yeah, okay.
Computers are not like widely available in the same way they are now, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he claimed he was there until 3:45 p.m. So if this is true, it clears him of the murder.
What time was he meant to be there? Sorry, from what time?
He left. He had a bus ticket for 8:44 a.m. So before Heather was known to have been murdered. At the start of 2003, so a couple months later, they still have no leads. So they offered £10,000 reward. And then February 2003, an e-fit is released of a clean-shaven man, 35 to 45 years old, who they wanted to eliminate from inquiries. So they didn't say it was a suspect. It was just someone that, probably a suspect, but someone that they wanted to eliminate. CCTV camera and an eyewitness saw this dodgy, bulky-looking man in the area at 9:23 a.m. So they were like, we need to find out who he is and whether he's connected in any way. That month, in February 2003, Heather was cremated. One of the distractions in this case is that there had been a few murders in Bournemouth that year, which was highly unusual for Bournemouth. So I'm going to go through some of them because basically, like I said, it was unusual to have this amount of murders in this area. And so there was a lot of confusion about whether they were linked or not. And they obviously, even if they were known not to be linked, divided up very limited resources in a small police force.
I can't imagine there'd be like a really extensive police force in Bournemouth dealing with
and not a homicide, exactly, if they're not used to having them. So there was a South Korean student called Jong Ok Shin. This was taken very seriously because Bournemouth, like I said, had a lot of students. So that means their economy, their everything is very dependent on students coming to learn English, coming to the university. There were lots of fake leads for this case. People were even arrested on this based on a very dodgy statement from a sex worker. She had been arrested and she was trying to, the assumption was she was trying to save her own skin. So suddenly she's giving details about this murder. She was also a heavy drug user, which, not to be judgy, but obviously it does affect the credibility of a witness because the whole point of drugs is to affect your mind, right? So her details changed regularly in her statement, and she was the only witness. So she claimed that 2 men, originally 3 men, but then she changed it to 2, raped her after they murdered this South Korean victim, Shin. And there was a statement that there was another South Korean man that had been stalking Shin and had been even kicked out of the class for his behavior towards women. So lots of stuff going around this case. But I'm going to talk specifically about the 2 men that this sex worker implicated, Omar Benguit and Nicholas Badamosi. Badamosi was cleared of the rape, but they were unable to clear him of the murder. So they had to retrial. They had to do a retrial. There was another mistrial. So then there was a 3rd trial. So this guy is tried for this murder 3 different times. The jury convicted Omar Benguit of the rape of the sex worker, which meant that it didn't look good for him at the murder trial. Nope. He was also a heavy drug user, had been previously convicted of stabbing a man. So it doesn't look good for him. So from a BBC article by Brona Munro, I'm going to quote because it's written very well. Omar becomes eligible for parole in 2022, and if he confesses to the killing, he could be set free. But he told me he'd rather die in prison than admit to the murder. Because basically, he got convicted for the murder. 5 of those prosecution witnesses admit lying about Omar in court. They all claim police pressured them into saying whatever they said in court. There's a BBC documentary on iPlayer about this case because the journalists found new evidence. There's CCTV of possibly Omar in another part of town at the time of the murder, meaning he couldn't have committed this murder. Omar has spent 20 years in jail for this murder.
But let's just say he was convicted of the rape as well. So
he was convicted of the rape.
Horrific. If that's
but
true.
Also because of the same eyewitness, this sex worker, she said that Omar and this other guy committed the murder and then raped her afterwards. And yes, if he committed the rape, obviously he should be serving time for that. But it does seem like there is, at the very least, a lot of mishandling of this case and this trial that means that it's almost impossible to say for sure whether he committed the murder or not.
Presumably he's appealed, and then is there enough evidence?
He's eligible for parole. He was eligible for parole in 2022, so a couple of years ago. And they're saying you can get out if you confess. And he's saying, I'm not going to confess because I didn't do it. So, you know, that takes balls if you are guilty, right? You can walk free. He's still in prison because he refuses to say, I did this murder.
Yeah.
So that was going on all around the same time. Going back to Heather Barnett and that case, they realized, the police, that they should look more closely at Danilo Restivo. He had met his girlfriend online, Fiammo. She had 2 kids. They lived across the road from Heather. Their living room overlooked Heather's bedroom. So they were very close proximity. One of the police officers Googled Restivo. Listen to this. So they're like, oh, this neighbor's a bit dodgy. One of them takes the idea. And this is 2002, 3. This is like Google searching online was, you know, it's not as prominent. We Google search everything. We have half a thought and we're like, let me Google that, right? So this is like ahead of his time. He Googled Restivo and found all of the Elisa Claps Italy stuff, because that was obviously an ongoing, open, cold case.
And also Heather might have done that as well. You don't know. She might have done that. And that's another reason why she was a bit heightened security-wise.
Maybe. But I think definitely this guy was creepy enough just to give people a bad vibe, you know? That you wouldn't want to be alone in the house. You wouldn't want him to have keys to your house. So he finds out about the fact that he was so heavily involved and, you know, a suspect for the Elisa Claps case. But also, most importantly, he read about Danilo Restivo's hair fetish. Because you remember, it came out that Danilo had been in trouble for cutting women's hair on buses and so forth.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that's right.
So all of that he read about. And he was like, hang on a minute. Heather was found with the hair in her hands. It's just bizarre.
Oh, I've got chills.
I know. And that's what I remember. Like, I was just talking to Sam about this before. We remember watching the Crime Watch thing. And the reason why it's stuck in our head is because of the hair. Because that is creepy as fuck, you know? So when they look closer at Danilo Restivo's alibi, you know, that he got on the bus at a certain time, they realize, actually, we only have proof that he got on the bus. We have no proof of where he got off the bus. He could have got off the bus at the next stop and just walked back, and then he would be well within the time frame to commit the murder. He'd signed into his class at 10:28, which was then scratched out and replaced by 9 a.m. So that he obviously had to sign in when he got to the computer classroom. So basically, if he got off the bus and after one stop and walked back, it would take him about 10 minutes to get back to Heather's. They then did some amazing tests on the unidentified hair in Heather's hand. And this I also remember from Crime Watch, because it was like, fuck, how did they do this? They found out that the person's hair, that it was a woman, that she had lived in the UK, but had traveled to Spain or the south of France for about 70 days previous to her hair being cut. And 26 days before, they were in Tampa in Florida.
Oh my God, you're going to have to break this in for me. I'm so intrigued. How do they know? Tell me. This is amazing. I love this stuff.
You're screwed if you've got long hair like us, because your hair tells the story of what you've been up to. So that's why they do drug testing on hair as well, because they'll be able to tell you, oh, like 3 months ago, she did cocaine. 10 months ago, she was in this area because she's got this high level of nutrients that's only found in the water in that area or whatever. That's how they managed to work out. Oh, 70 days previous, she was in Spain or south of France. 26 days before, because here we've got like stuff that's only found in Tampa and Florida. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I love forensics.
I know, it's so amazing.
Can I just interrupt and tell you one thing that I thought was hilarious? This lady came into the shop yesterday and she was buying like poison books, like League of Lady Poisoners by Lisa Perrin, and she was looking at other poison books. And then she turned around and she said, I think that forensics has really spoiled poisoning, because now people know, like, you know, how to get away with it. So then it's harder to poison people. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Were you like, I'm just going to have to write your name and contact details down?
Details, exactly. I just thought, oh, right. Okay, then.
Yeah, you have to keep us posted if you ever find anyone coming into your bookshop and going to like the true crime in the reference center section.
Everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like for research, not for a podcast, but for future crime. So police identified the trainers that they found as Nike Terra Part Stormy, which is a specific kind of trainer. They even went to the States to identify the trainers and found out that only 1,000 pairs were sold in the UK.
Oh my God.
So cool. But the same as in Italy, police knew it was him, but couldn't find any concrete evidence. So they put him under surveillance, where they followed him several times, going to an isolated park by himself, where he made himself inconspicuous. Although for me, this makes you more conspicuous, putting up a hood, putting sunglasses on, even though it was warm weather, and watched women jogging, walking dogs, etc. He then would like change his clothes, bending behind bushes to watch women, taking gloves off and on, even though it was like hot. And one day he was behaving so strangely that they actually decided to send in uniformed officers because they were like, we think he's about to do something, you know? He was wearing waterproof trousers, which was creepy because it wasn't near water. They searched his car, and in the boot, they found loads of bin bags, balaclavas, changes of clothes, scissors, knives. I mean, all stuff that you think like you could justify away. Some people,
individually, you can just justify them. I mean,
yeah, but all together. And when you're a suspect in 2 murders, it's not looking good. He claimed that he found the knife in the park and he took it because he didn't want kids finding it. Police never saw this. Like, he claimed that this happened at a time when he was being surveyed unknowingly. They knew they'd been watching him. They hadn't seen him pick up a knife. They hadn't seen kids around, etc. So they were like, no. Yeah. But police also knew that it matched the set of knives that he had at his home where there was a knife missing.
Yeah.
So a month later, he is actually arrested. Yeah, I don't know why these things always take so long, but presumably they were getting their ducks in a row so they could hold him, you know? They asked him about hair and Elisa Claps and his stalking. He mainly said no comment, no comment, no comment. And so they basically had not enough evidence and they had to release him. Now, I want us to go back to Italy because you remember how amazing Elisa's brothers and family were.
Yeah.
Like Gildo in particular was like always, he said he didn't feel like doing it, but every time there was an opportunity to speak about his sister in the media, he did it because he wanted to keep the case alive because it was still a cold case. So back in Italy, Gildo's still regularly searching the internet for news of Danilo Restivo, keeping up to date with him. And then in June 2004, so 2 years after Heather Barnett's killed, he actually decides to search an English language site. And this is where he learned from the Bournemouth Echo, which is their local paper, that Restivo was a suspect in Barnett's murder and that he had even been arrested, even though released. So Gildo goes to the Italian police, who already knew about this, because the British police had come to them to ask them for information about Danilo Restivo, his obsession with hair, his fetish with hair, and all of the stuff with regards to the Elisa Claps case. The link between the Elisa Claps murder and Heather Barnett was leaked to the media. So that started coming out that he was tied to another murder. Gildo went to Bournemouth to talk to the police there because obviously he is the number one expert on this case.
Yeah, of course.
And Danilo Restivo had actually just married his girlfriend a couple of days before Gildo turns up. Like, even through all this, she wants to marry him. Even if you thought the guy was innocent, wouldn't you be like, why don't we just wait until the murdery stuff is out of the picture?
Yeah, let's just wait.
Plan a wedding. But according to British law, his wife now can't testify against him in court. So was it a strategic move?
Can't testify against him? How can that even be possible?
They can't force her to.
Oh, I see.
She can if she wants to.
Right, okay.
But they can't like subpoena her, I guess, and force her to testify against her husband.
Okay.
Gildo actually went to Danilo Restivo's house at one point, but Danilo Restivo just ran away from him. So I like to think that at this point in time, he felt like the world was closing in on him because and that he was panicked because he deserves it. So by now, the Italian and the Dorset police are working together because the links between the two cases were undeniable. But both cases, well, the Elisa Claps case had stalled for fucking ages, and the Heather Barnett case was stalling. They were still looking for like the spare keys. They were still looking for the mystery owner of the hair that was found in Heather's hand. And so in 2006, they showed the case on Crime Watch, not once, but twice in that year. And at this point, Claire George comes forward. She told them that the man in the CCTV that they showed, do you remember the man that they wanted to eliminate from inquiries? Yeah. That was Danilo Restivo, who she had worked with. Lots of other people came forward to say that Danilo Restivo had cut their hair on buses.
Oh
13 women.
In the UK or?
Yeah. Yeah. So now we've got more women coming forward in the UK.
I'm sorry, but why was he not in any police list? Like, should like Bournemouth police contact other police forces, like to search his name?
I don't know. I wonder how many of the people actually went to the police about the haircutting. Because, you know, it's so weird. It's such a weird act that I think if it happened to me, I'd be like, did that actually just happen?
But also, if let's say I was on the bus and someone cut my hair and then maybe I only noticed after they left, like, and I didn't know who they were. So what, you don't have a name.
Cameras on buses were not standard at this time. If you remember the Levi Belfield case, they got a lot of evidence from cameras on buses, and that 2002-ish and whatever. But that was because that was new. It was exciting because it was new that those buses had those cameras. So this is a time where you would have struggled to find evidence or whatever. Some of the women, again, only really noticed what happened afterwards. But some of them said that he was masturbating while he was cutting their hair. It's fucking awful. So it's just like such a shame that things weren't more coordinated. Probably a lot of the women were like, what are they even going to do about it?
Exactly. And if they don't know who this person is, yeah, and you're going to relive the trauma, or it's going to be worse for you.
And be like, oh, this guy cut my hair. And they're going to be like, what the fuck do you want us to do about it? We've got more serious things to look at, you know? They searched Danilo Restivo's house again and they found some hair.
And this is because Claire was like, I recognize him. I used to work with him.
Yeah, yeah. They searched his house. They found some hair. They couldn't match it to anyone. But also it was in a box with like other mementos, like family pictures and whatever. So it was kind of like they could justify it away saying it was like hair of a loved one, a child or whatever. Because some people keep locks of hair from kids and stuff when they're, you know, baby's first haircut, whatever.
Yeah.
Then there was another Crime Watch appeal in 2007. At one point, they had 15 women that had come forward in Italy saying that he had cut their hair. None of these women, they were trying to match to the hair, unidentified hair found in Heather Barnett's hand. They still were not finding a match for this. In the meantime, Danilo Restivo was getting threats, bullets in the post, et cetera, et cetera. So he was putting up a lot of security around his house, CCTV and whatnot.
Oh, poor him.
I know. Police still had his trainers that he'd worn on the day, but that had been bleached. They did more advanced testing now that that was available, and they found blood on the shoes, but also deep inside the shoe, implying that there was blood on the socks or the feet of the person who put the shoes on. They also had the hard drive from the computer of the class that Restivo went to. So this is the computer that he supposedly was on while Heather Barnett was being murdered. It was powered up at 8:35 a.m. on the morning of the murder, but it was only actually used at 10:10 a.m.
Okay, so he wasn't there.
The internet, so it could have been powered up basically by a staff member who goes in, turns on the computers, ready for the day. And there was no internet use until 10:33. And that was an Italian website. So that's likely to be Restivo, but it's unlikely that he used the computer earlier than 10:33. And remember, the original sign-in time was 10:29.
Yeah.
So basically, he's now got no alibi for the time of the murder.
Yeah.
The computer had also been used to research the case, which I always think is...
what case? His previous case in Italy?
The Heather Barnett case. But I don't think that's weird. I don't think it's that weird. And maybe it's because I have a true crime podcast and a true crime... brain. But like, I don't think it's that weird to research a local case.
Definitely not. I think that's normal.
I don't think it's that weird to research a case that you are a fucking suspect in.
Exactly, because you'd be wanting to check what's been
Yeah,
said. Yeah, I don't
you
think that's
know.
weird.
So that will give him as not being a weird thing he's done. There's enough weird shit he's done. We don't need to add that, you know? At the crime scene, they found a green hand towel, and this hand towel did not belong to the Barnetts, and there was blood stains on it from Heather. There was also saliva on it, which was submitted for DNA testing, which was also Heather Barnett's. But it was thought that this hand towel was used by the killer to clean himself up and that he forgot it. They taped it at the time for skin flakes and so forth, but it's only in 2008 that they did testing on this. So I don't know whether that
6 years later. What?
I don't know whether it's because they didn't have the possibility. Like, I think it was at Harrogate, we were hearing about how for blood testing, for DNA testing, you used to have like you needed a 50p coin size bit of blood. Now they can do it on specks of blood you can't even see with the naked eye. So maybe it's that they couldn't do it until then. 2 people's DNA was found now, Heather Barnett, but also Danilo Restivo. The probability that it wasn't Danilo Restivo was 1 in 50,000. So it's a very high chance that it's Danilo Restivo, basically.
Okay.
But the police still wanted more because they wanted to lock this guy up for good, right? So Danilo Restivo at this point is still free. But then something absolutely creepy, bizarre, timely happens because we're in 2010 now, and they finally find Elisa Claps's body in Italy.
No shit.
Because
Oh
you remember
gosh.
at this point, the family knew she'd been murdered because she wouldn't have run away without ever telling anyone anything. They knew it was Danilo Restivo, but in theory, it is very, very difficult to get someone for murder when there's no body because you have to prove A, that that person is dead, B, that they were murdered, and C, that it was that person. Whereas if you have a body, A and B are already taken care of. You just need to prove that it was that person.
Oh my God, Dee.
So can you guess where this body was found? I'll give you a clue. And that is the name. You remember I told you I didn't want to tell you the name of the book that I used to research a lot?
Yeah.
The book by Tobias Jones is Blood on the Altar.
I was going to say, was she found somewhere in the church?
Yep. Her mummified body by this point, because it had been, almost 20 years, her mummified body was found in the attic of the church.
Hang on a second. Did you not talk about something in the attic and the minister? No?
There was a door that went up to the upper floors of the church that were locked at the time that the police went to go check and the brothers went and everything. The door was locked. Yeah. And they were not granted access because the priest was gone, Dom Mimi.
That's right, of course.
He had gone to a retreat, coincidentally or not, the following day. No one ever went back to check.
Why?
So 17th of March, 2010, Elisa's family had somehow gotten used to Elisa's absence. They would never have gotten used to it, but they
find a way of coping. You find a way of coping.
Yeah. And Gildo had started hearing rumors that something had happened at the Trinita church, the one that Elisa had gone to meet Danilo Restivo in and had never been seen again. So he goes to the church and basically they'd found the body of Elisa. I don't know how the police never did a search properly. Like I said, there was that locked door that no one ever went back to investigate. So what happened was a workman was trying to find the cause of a leak in the roof. Gildo told his family and they all went to the church.
That poor family, knowing that she was so close. And they were praying probably in that church.
Because you remember that
she's there.
The mum was religious.
She's above their heads every
Well, I think I remember reading that they didn't go to that church again.
Right. Okay.
Because it was so linked to the disappearance of Elisa. Gildo told his family that, something was going on. They all went down to the church and they identified the body from items on the body. The next day, the body was still in the church. The brothers were taking up several flights of stairs to the roof, to the garret where the body was. So it's kind of in a really awkward place in the roof. You had to climb like over and under beams to get to it. Elisa's body was finally taken for an autopsy. And then there was a 10,000 person strong procession the next day
Yeah.
in the town because they were angry that the body was left there for so long and they wanted to show support for the family. There's
Yeah.
loads of flowers, notes, candles, and so forth left outside the church.
And I hope they finally felt in a way vindicated that, because there'd be some people that like wouldn't believe them, that would have just said she'd run away and
There
that,
was at times that suspicion fell on the family.
exactly.
People found the fact that her body had been left unfound in the church almost more shocking than her initial disappearance, because at the time of her disappearance, again, they were like, run away, whatever, They couldn't believe that she was there the whole time. And the family didn't go back there, but other people did. They were getting married. They were having christenings with a body, a murdered victim upstairs.
Yeah.
It's gross. Don Mimi, who was the priest at the time, he'd been dead by this point for a couple of years. So you couldn't even speak to him about how this could be. Several other staff, cleaners and so forth, had been up there previously and had said that there were piles of junk in the corner, tiles, rubble, etc., which wasn't there when the body was found, implying that people had been there and moved stuff. When the new interim priest arrived after Don Mimi died, he had a bunch of stuff cleared from the roof. So surely the body would have been found at that point.
I suppose you were saying it's quite difficult to get to over under beams if it was now really
it's just very weird.
Yeah.
But forensic evidence proved that her body had previously been covered by tiles and rubble that was not there when they found the body. So there had been someone who had, in the meantime, moved stuff off the body and not commented about it. And that interim priest or whoever that was would have definitely known about the Elisa Claps case because it's a small town,
Wow.
So I think if you'd found that body, you'd be like, yeah, it's probably her because she disappeared after being in this church.
But even if you didn't know about the case, you've just found a body.
Exactly. Even if you didn't know, you would be like, excuse me. And that's what happened when two cleaners found the body in January of 2010. And they told the new priest, and he told the bishop supposedly, and the bishop told no one. The bishop claimed to the media that he misunderstood and he thought that the priest had said, we found a Ukrainian, not a cranium.
It sounds like he's just gone through body parts, like arm, leg, whatever. What sounds like a country, a people, cranium, I'll go off with it.
Because I feel like if I was telling someone I found a Ukrainian, it would be in a very different way to if I was telling someone I found a cranium. And that just from my tone,
the whole body was intact. The whole body was intact, right?
Well, it was mummified, and I didn't read anything about the cranium being separate. So it's fucking bullshit. I think we can agree, allegedly, right? It's just bizarre.
A Ukraine, but even if you said I found a Ukrainian, you'd be like, okay, give me more context.
I still have follow-up questions. Exactly. I mean, then you'd be like, alive or dead, and then eventually,
why are you telling me this?
But also, there was even a little opening sawn into the beams above the body, presumably to let the smell out.
Or is that a peephole that he would come back to and look at? Or?
No, because it was in the roof, basically.
Right, okay.
There was also a mattress up there that had men's semen on there. So someone was using that area for sexual congress, let's say.
That could be unrelated because if that's in another area.
Yeah, but still, it seems inevitable that Don Mimi knew about the body and also that the new priest also knew about the body. Because also, even if he found the body and reported it to his seniors, the bishop, he would have known that nothing had happened since then. Like, he'd be like, yeah, but where are the police, sir?
Can I ask about the cleaners? Sorry, when did you say that these two cleaners found the body in relation to when the body was...
Only a couple months before. So she was found officially on the 17th of March. They reported it in January of 2010. So only a couple of months before by coincidence.
But then it was the builder that then alerted the police.
Exactly. So he must have been like, I'm not going to report it to the church authorities. I'm going to report it to the police. So something actually happened.
Because I wondered like how small this community is. Because I wonder if those cleaners were like, why hasn't anything happened yet? Oh, my brother's a builder. I'll see if he can just go in and report it. Because like those cleaners just must be like, hang on, what's going
Yeah.
on here?
You would go back into work like the next day and be like, so what happened with the
But
body
you
we
might
found?
not, like, if you needed a
Yeah,
job or,
exactly. The other thing is that it seemed that Elisa was alive when she went up into the garret. So why would she have gone up with Danilo Restivo, who, if you remember, she felt really uncomfortable around? Why would she go up in the garret with him? Presumably, she wanted to meet him in the church because she felt like it was a safe space, like safe public space to meet someone she didn't really want to meet. He was pretending he had a present for her. She didn't want to be rude. So she's like, okay, I'll meet you to, you know. So it's thought that Eliana, her friend who she had been with that day, might have gone up there with him and perhaps with her boyfriend, because you remember her story changed a million times.
yeah.
So, how did Elisa die? She had 12 injuries. They were stab wounds, probably from open scissors. Her underwear and bra had been cut. It's possible that she'd faced sexual assault, probably soon after her death, but it was hard to tell because of the time between her death and finding the body. Her hair had been cut. And this is really interesting, but also a bit gross. Her hair had been cut in places, but in such a straight line that they wondered how it was possible. If you've ever cut your hair, you know that like you try to cut it and it goes roop. So they experimented with different ways of cutting hair and bloody hair. They worked out that the hair had to be blood soaked, but then the blood had to dry and then cut. So your hair is almost like crusty,
Oh,
solid,
wow. Okay.
meaning that some time must have passed between her hair getting bloody and her hair being cut. For example, at least 20 minutes. So to put that in perspective, that means that someone probably killed her, hung around for a bit, possibly to sexually assault her, and then cut her hair. The hair had decayed, but they found remains of hair in Elisa's hands, just like Heather Barnett.
Cut her hair, put it in her hands.
Yeah.
Mm.
June 2010, it comes out that there was a red button found underneath her body. And they worked out that this was a cardinal's button, possibly based on the color. And they were like, well, is it Don Mimi's then? They even found a picture of Don Mimi in a cardinal outfit with a missing button. Now it gets weirder. I told you already about the mattress that had semen of two men on it, and they never tracked down who the DNA of those.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not to imply that it's two men having sex with each other, because they couldn't date the DNA samples. But it was just more shocking revelations from this supposedly holy place, right? So you can imagine these townsfolk being fucking rocked by the disappearance in the first place, then fucking finding the body in the church, like I said, where they're getting married, having communion, and then finding that there are also people having sex in the church. Then the tests for blood came back on Elisa's jumper because they were testing her clothes, and it was an exact match to Danilo Restivo. But before he could be tried for this murder in Italy, he was to be tried in the UK for the murder of Heather Barnett. Elisa's mum wants him to serve time. At this point, she wanted him to serve time in Britain because she was convinced if he served time in Italy, because of his connections, because of the corruption, because of all the drama that went on with his case, that he'd probably find a way to get out. The author, Tobias Jones, and the family of Elisa, he was so involved, this author of this book, that's why it was so good. He was involved with the family. He got to know them very well through researching this case. He actually went with them to Winchester Crown Court for the pre-hearing trial of Danilo Restivo. The trial was going to be 6 to 8 weeks long. They were told it might not start for another 6 months. So the Italian trial would be at least a year away. Filomena, the mum of Elisa Claps, she was actually upset that the public gallery was above the defendant's box. She wanted Danilo Restivo to be able to see her throughout the trial. And I was like, yes, bitch.
She could have spat on her.
Yeah. The first win was when all of the Elisa Claps murder information was actually allowed to be heard during the trial of Heather Barnett.
Oh, good.
Because of the similarities, which is quite interesting because he'd not been tried and convicted of that murder yet.
Okay.
So first they heard from Terry, the 14-year-old son, 14 at the time. He was 8 years older now, if not longer. I don't know. He was 14 at the time of finding his mum. They asked why Heather had changed the locks, and he said it's because she suspected Danilo Restivo had the spare key and that this made her feel really uncomfortable. They explained to the court that he'd bought a bus ticket, but that he could have very easily got off the next stop and been back at Heather's house in 10 minutes. They heard about Danilo washing his trainers, not just washing them, but bleaching them. They also talked about the state of the crime scene, that Heather had been subdued very quickly, then dragged into the bathroom. The defense tried to confuse the jury with a bunch of blah, blah, blah about false positives and blood testing and blah, all this kind of stuff. Then there was the DNA stuff on the hand towel, the DNA found on the hand towel. Danilo Restivo had now changed his story and said he did leave the towel there when he went to Heather's to talk about curtains for his girlfriend. Because you remember he went to supposedly talk about a sewing job.
What in the curtains made out of this green towel?
He wanted it that color, supposedly. So he's placing himself in the house. That's why my DNA is around.
Yeah.
That's why my towel is there.
Mm-hmm.
He only started with this story, though, once they found his DNA on the towel. So previous to that, he was like, it's not my towel. But then they find DNA on it. He's like, oh, maybe it is my towel. Then they went on to the hair in the hands of Heather.
Oh, I want to know.
Yeah, well, there wasn't much extra apart from what I've already told you. And then they talked about how there's no computer activity on the computer that he claimed he was using at the time. The defense obviously tries to poke holes in everything. Like they were saying, you don't have proof of activity on the computer, meaning there could have been activity, but we don't have proof of that activity. Do you see what I mean? They're trying to but can you be sure? And
he could have just been reading at the computer, not actually.
Yeah, he could have been sat there reading a book or whatever.
Which he could have, but we don't believe him.
No, of course not. There was a lot of sciencey stuff, to do with the blood testing and the DNA samples and then a lot of computery jargon or whatever. So the defense clearly were trying to make it so confusing and complicated and go into all of this sort of stuff to make the jury confused. Like you could apparently literally see their eyes glaze over, because that way there is reasonable doubt. I'm so confused. I can't possibly say he definitely did it. That was their defense. They had lots of people at the trial who said that their hair had been cut by Restivo. They brought in the information about the covert surveillance of Restivo. Remember him watching women in the park?
Weird, yeah.
Changing clothes, everything. They took everyone involved in the court, like the jury, to Heather's flat.
Oh, wow.
Pointed out Danilo Restivo's house, how it was directly opposite. It was actually, I think, on a different street. But where it was, like on the crossroads, meant that it was actually opposite. The door was facing another street, but they were overlooking Heather's house. They went to the place where he was supposedly using the computer. They went to the park where he was surveyed, acting so weird that they had to interrupt the surveillance and ruin that covert operation by sending in uniformed officers because they were worried he was actually going to do something in that moment. Then there was all the evidence from Italy, witnesses that had their hair cut in Italy, one that was with her partner at the time. I think they were in a cinema, and he cut her hair. Her partner saw that he was masturbating, and it was only later on that they realized that her hair was cut.
Oh.
She thought it was just pinched in his arm, or you know what I mean? Like when you have long hair, it gets caught in everything, doesn't it? Like how often have you closed it in your car window and stuff,
Never.
Oh, yeah, me too. Never. Then there was the ex-boyfriend of Anna Restivo, Danilo's sister. He was the one that had gone to hospital with him on the day of the disappearance, now murder, because he had supposedly fallen down these escalators in construction.
Oh, yes,
remember?
That's right, yeah.
It was a small cut that was bleeding, but it was really not enough to go to hospital. If you remember, he had one stitch, which seems like polite more than anything, But Danilo was insisting to go to the hospital. But the ex-boyfriend said that soon after he was receiving threats, phone threats and stuff. So they were clearly like, you better not talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Paola then came to the stand. Now, she was the one that Restivo supposedly liked and wanted to meet Elisa to talk about. Restivo claimed that they had gone to the escalator a few times together, him and Paola, and that's why he went there, to relive these beautiful moments when he was at this escalator under construction with the girl he liked. And that's when he fell and got his injuries. Paula said they'd never gone to the escalator together. And also that he had told her he has keys to the church.
Ooh.
I don't know how, in what context he had keys to the church, but apparently he was claiming he had. A friend of Elisa's came to the stage, and Tobias Jones says in this moment that it really struck him that this woman was now middle-aged because the amount of time that had passed. And that's the age Elisa should have been.
Would have been,
if she'd been allowed to live. Gildo took the stand and said Elisa had already told him that she was anxious about Danilo Restivo. Remember, he appeared annoyingly on their holiday in a different city on the coast. And she had told him then that he was annoying her, but it was fine. He remembered that Danilo Restivo had called her the night before. She disappeared, presumably to arrange the meeting the next day, and that Elisa looked annoyed. He told of Eliana's lies. You remember she came back saying they'd gone to mass together and then lost each other. Then she confessed that Elisa was meeting Danilo, and there was loads of different stuff. Maybe some of it was she was worried she was going to get in trouble, but it obviously wasn't helpful at the time. The case, though, was now largely ignored by national media, which explains why I remember when Heather Barnett was murdered. I remember the Crime Watch, but I don't remember any follow-up. I don't have any memory of anyone being caught and done for the murder. I definitely don't remember it having links to an Italian murder or whatever. But the reason why it fell off the national media front page, let's say, is because this trial was happening alongside Levi Belfield's trials.
Oh, God.
Now, if you want to know more about Levi Belfield, have a listen to Series 1, Episode 2, I think it was. So it was at the time the Millie Dowler case. She was the murder that he, after he was caught, was linked back to that had happened a few years previous to his capture for Amélie de Lagrange's murder. So yeah, that was happening, which was clearly
massive,
just huge, you know, and also in a similar area, south, westy part of England. So it's not a surprise that kind of took over. They had problems during the trial because the translator in the court was not great. And Tobias Jones says he noticed this right off the bat because he's fluent in Italian and obviously English. Simple words were not being translated correctly.
Right, bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre because you wouldn't have thought, like, Italian is not such a random language that it would be hard to find someone who could do this. Like, mistranslated galleria to shops when it actually meant tunnel. Oh, this is funny, but also seriously impactful on this trial. The translator was obviously a little bit like prudish. So they wouldn't translate words like masturbation or penis. And it's like, but these are crucial, important things. Evidence. Yes. So how are you fucking translating that this guy is cutting women's hair and masturbating without translating it,
Spilling water on them with a sausage.
Choking the lizard. No, but apparently we just go silent during these points. It's like, you can't do that. Like, I know it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. Just fucking do it. So they finally had to get a new translator in, but you wonder what kind of impact that would have had. The pathologist of Elisa's body took the stand then and showed mummified photos of Elisa, which is fucking awful. The lowering of the trousers, the cutting of the underpants of Elisa's, these were similar to Heather's, how Heather was found. They showed the ventilation created, which is so suspicious. They mentioned that they'd found some remnants of hair in Elisa's hands as well. And that also she'd arrived to the garret alive. They're still questioning, like, why would she go up there with someone that she found so creepy? Danilo Restivo, at this point, claims that he gets sick at the sight of blood. But they found an email exchange, I don't know whom with, that showed that he actually got almost sexual excitement from the sight of blood.
He should have just shut up. He should have just not said anything.
You're now giving evidence to the other side, actually. Yeah. Eliana's turn. Eliana, her friend, Elisa's friend, got up and said that Elisa was meeting him to get a gift from him, but Danilo's still denying this, saying that he was actually asking to meet up with her to talk about Paula and his crush from Paula. Eliana got ripped apart by defense.
Good.
Because, well, she got ripped apart because she told so many lies, which actually made it harder to convict this guy, Yeah. Then they discussed Elisa's jumper. that they'd found blood on it and that the DNA matched Danilo Restivo's. The defense raised the possibility that the blood might be saliva. I don't know how this like benefits them. The test shows that it's unlikely, but it raised some doubts because if it was saliva, to have that amount of it would have meant that Danilo Restivo would have had to spit on her repetitively on the back. So I think they're just trying to fuck with these guys, just make it so confusing and so weird and whatever that the jury are like, well, we can't convict him because honestly, we're just baffled by the evidence. So there is reasonable doubt. Danilo Restivo then takes the stand. He admits to all the hair cutting. He said it started as a bet by school friends, but then he continued to do it. And then he started doing it a lot. He denies masturbating while hair cutting. I think he's trying to say it wasn't a sexual thing. He's a hypochondriac and he lists all his ailments and operations, hernias, nostril enlarging, dislocated shoulders, etc. The jury even started giggling at his list of ailments. And the reason why he was going on about this is because he was saying that the balaclava that was found in his car was because of sinus issues. He wore it in the car while the car was warming up. He would claim that he had no sense of smell, but then he said that he cut the hair to smell afterwards. So he's got a changing story as well. When he was called out about the changing stories, he says he has sleep apnea and it affects his memory. I mean, he had an excuse for everything, you know? After a 2-month trial, the jury found Danilo Restivo guilty.
Thank God, because I thought you were going to say not guilty.
I know. I mean, the defense team tried their hardest, but I think...
And this was for the UK. This is for
Heather Barnett only.
For Heather.
He was sentenced the next day, and the judge said that he was found guilty of Heather Barnett's murder, but that it was without doubt that he was also responsible for Elisa Claps's murder too. The judge basically said that 30 years is not enough. There will be no minimum sentence set. Danilo Restivo would never leave prison, and then said, take him down.
Woo-hoo-hoo. I love this guy.
Yeah, I think they realized this guy is next level, perverted, disgusting, evil. 48 hours after sentencing in Winchester, Elisa is being put to rest in Potenza on the 1st of July, 2011. Filomena didn't want her daughter Elisa back in a church, so they had an open-air funeral, which for a religious person, that's a big deal.
But she spent all those years in a church in the wrong place. So I think that that's a really nice thing for her, like mum and family to do. Can understand that.
On the 11th of November, 2011, whilst Danilo Restivo is in prison in the United Kingdom, an Italian court in Salerno found Restivo guilty of Elisa Claps's murder and sentenced Restivo to 30 years imprisonment. The trial was carried out in Restivo's absence due to extradition proceedings from blah, blah, blah. So he wasn't there. Restivo appealed and got a minimum term of 40 years. But that's just when he can apply for probation.
But hang on, he got 30 years, and then how could he then get a minimum after a
Sorry,
appeal?
no minimum sentence in the UK.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Italy, 30 years.
Okay.
So I don't know whether that's to be completed after his no minimum sentence in the UK. So Danilo Restivo appealed for
the UK one.
In UK. And so now he has a minimum term of 40 years in the UK. But that just means that's when he can apply for probation. So that doesn't mean he's out in 40 years.
Yeah.
And the appeals court even said it's unlikely he will ever get released.
And how old would he be then, in his 80s?
Yeah, at least. He lost appeals in Italy. So he's still got the 30-year thing in Italy, which sounds like it must be post his term in the UK, because otherwise, why, if it runs concurrently, that one finishes before he gets out in the UK. I don't know. Theresa May, Prime Minister for 5 minutes of the UK, but also like, what was she, Home Secretary, whatever. Anyways, I don't know what role she was in at the time, but she wanted him deported to Italy, but he didn't want to because his now wife is in the UK. There are, though, also... This is the end of the Elisa Claps and Heather Barnett story, but there are also a few other cases linked to him.
Okay. I was thinking there may well be, because there's quite a lot of time. There's a big time period between them.
Time period between them. And those murders, both of them, are so grim and so horrible. It feels unlikely that it was just those two. Do you know what I mean? Like he was young when the Elisa Claps one happened, but the Heather Barnett one was like calculated and premeditated.
Yeah, and the Heather one, and sorry to go over the details, but she had her breast cut off, put next to her, hair in her hand, stabbed multiple times. That's not something you just go, oh, this is what I just want to do this. It's like premeditated, but it's almost like it's been done before or practiced. And I don't know how easy it is to take someone's breasts off, which is awful.
But it's not even like you could say it was like a moment of rage or whatever, because he got on a bus and got off and walked back.
Presumably took her house keys. Like he's planned all this. It's not a moment of rage.
Yeah, it's a premeditated, vicious murder. So I already mentioned the murder of the South Korean student, Jung Ok Shin. Those two men that were convicted of it, very questionably. There's also the disappearance of Christina Golinucci. She was a 21-year-old accounting clerk who was last seen in front of a convent in Cesena a year before Elisa Claps's disappearance. There's no evidence really, but there's this link with a religious place, which was what drew people to suspect Restivo, including the police. Some of these are more or less tenuous than the others,
Was her body found or not found?
No.
Not found, okay.
There's the disappearance of 3 women in France. Allegedly, he met 3 women online. 2 of these women were found dead in Perpignan, 1995 to 1998. Tatiana Andujar, 17-year-old from Perpignan, her body was never found. Mokhtaria Chaib, a 19-year-old sociology student, her body was found. Her breasts were removed and her anus was missing. Sorry to be gory, but obviously it's important because it links with his
MO.
Yeah. Marie-Helene Gonzalez was 22-year-old. Her body was found with no head or hands. The press linked these 3 crimes together because they'd all been seen at Perpignan train station. There was no evidence, though, that Restivo was in France at this time.
The third one seems very different from his usual, like hands and feet. That seems weird. That middle one, though, sounds very suspicious.
And obviously the first one, she was never found. So we don't know how she was murdered, if she was murdered. What I will say is this 1995 to 1998, that these women disappeared. I think at that time it would have been fairly easy to move between European countries without leaving a record, because that's the way it was at the time, right? In August 1999, the mutilated body of 44-year-old British woman Yvonne O'Brien was located in her Mallorca apartment where she was vacationing. Her breasts had been removed. It was suspected that it was Yvonne's hair in Heather's hand, because remember, it was someone British who had gone to Spain.
And was there not something else in the hair? Spain?
Tampa. So I don't know whether this was ever followed up more closely, but basically it was a woman that he potentially could have killed a couple of years before he killed Heather Barnett, who had been to Spain. That case remains open in theory, but not being investigated. Erika Ansermin was a 27-year-old Italian woman who went missing from the north of Italy in Aosta in April 2023. Potentially could be something, it's an open case that could be linked to him. So there you have it. Fucking despicable human.
Dee, that was brutal, but utterly amazing. Well done. I thought it was really interesting.
I want to go through my sources because I went through a sources rabbit hole, which has never happened to me before.
And then you didn't want to give the name of the source in the beginning because of it gave too much away.
Exactly. So Casefile episode, I love Casefile. It's an amazing podcast, mainly focusing on Australian crimes because the guy is Australian, but they covered this case as well. There was also a bunch of different BBC articles. I'll put the links in the show notes. And then this amazing book, Blood on the Altar by Tobias Jones. He wrote a book also called Dark Heart of Italy about different Italian crimes. And then 3 fiction crime detective books, which I have already ordered because I want to read. And then one about the Italian football underworld. So like really interesting series of books, right?
Yeah,
but then,
I know this author, yeah.
Yeah, because then he's got a series of books about his retreat. He bought 10 acres of land in Somerset. He used to live in Italy at one point, obviously, but I think he's moved back to Somerset now. and he set up a retreat. And so I found a really interesting Guardian article that he'd written. Him and his wife, and I'll put a link to the article as well as the retreat place, founded Windsor Hill Wood, a woodland sanctuary 5 years ago, or 5 years previous to writing this article. The sanctuary offers refuge to people in crisis, people grappling with bereavement, addiction, depression, or homelessness. Others can come simply seeking relief from the pressures and disillusionment of modern life. Basically had a family home there, and they evolved it into a small intentional community based on shared living. Residents share meals, money, responsibilities, such as making furniture, growing food, and raising animals. So I was like, is this a cult?
I was about to say, this is culty.
Or is it a beautiful thing? I don't know. I haven't been. But I've put here, get him to do an event. We need to meet this guy to find out. Because you definitely have some of his books in the shop.
Yeah, no, I do. We've got the football one.
Yeah.
You mentioned. Yeah, definitely got that one.
So if you do ever do an event with him or have any interaction with him, keep us posted. I want to go because he's definitely a fascinating individual, really interesting. I won't say enjoyed reading his book because obviously it was fucking about brutal murders, but it was really well researched, written, and so forth. So yeah, Tobias Jones. I'm a fan, but I also need to know if you're a cult leader.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get the book in. I'll get more if he's not a cult leader.
Yeah. And, if it's a good cult, then fine. Is there such a thing? I don't know. But I will say where this potential cult / retreat looks gorgeous. I'll post links to the website. Yeah, so that's that.
That was insane. It was insane. Like you really had me hooked last time because you didn't tell me it was a 2-parter. You just went, and we're going to continue next week. And I was like, no. But it was so worth it.
Because it's so two distinctive parts. So places, decade apart, And again, like I said, I remember weirdly part 2, but none of part 1, because part 2 obviously happened in the UK.
And where is he in prison in the UK?
Oh, I don't know. Let's have a Google. But then obviously, especially because it was Levi Belfield, which was, as people who listen to this know, my local serial killer. I was very invested in following that case. And this one just fell by the wayside, not just for me, but for most people, it seems.
And presumably he's still married to this wife that she stuck by him because he wanted to stay in the UK because he just married her. I mean, I can't imagine being married to someone that's been convicted of 2 murders so brutally of women. Because I know that his family had linked to the mafia, right? So maybe she's terrified. I mean, I'm trying to make excuses for someone marrying a serial killer, but he's not a serial killer until he's killed 3 though, right?
Well, it's 2 in most places and 3. So it's between 2 and 3. So I'm going to call him a serial killer because in any case, think these are fucking disgusting murders. And also that he's probably responsible for a lot more than what he was convicted for. He is in HM Prison Full Sutton, which is near Pocklington in East Riding of Yorkshire. So unfortunately, up your way.
He's really close to me. Oh, well.
I wonder if she thinks he's innocent.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. But it's really, really just horrendous. I went to Punk Rock Holiday thinking that I would get loads of submissions for the Inquisition because obviously they have a lot of tattoos. Punks.
And did you just drink loads and just
I was going to say I got distracted. I did take a picture, which I will post, of an amazing punk with a blue mohawk.
Oh my God, that's so good. I love that.
He had a sticker on the side of his mohawk. So I asked him if I could put one of our stickers on his mohawk as well. So I will post that because that was so super cute. I loved it. So I think there'll be some submissions coming in shortly. But this Inquisition is a little bit different in that it's going to be mine.
Ooh.
I'm submitting mine for judgment. You might remember a previous submission by Barney of our joint tattoo.
Yes, Barney.
That we got in Leeds. We got our little pumpkin. I can't show you without showing you my pants, but we both got little pumpkin heads, jack-o'-lanterns. We got tattooed in Ljubljana. This was we were already drunk. We were walking around. The 2 tattooists that tattooed us, very irresponsible of you because we were clearly wasted. But they did. They tattooed us. We didn't get matching ones this time. I got a little dragon.
That's so cute.
Sorry, she's a bit scabby still because she is fresh.
That's so cute.
But Ljubljana has like one of its symbols is a dragon. It's got it on the coat of arms. They have dragon statues everywhere. I love a good dragon. So I was like, let's get a little dragon. And she fit perfectly in this space. I'm filling up space now. But Barney.
Oh, no.
That's Barney getting tattooed.
Hi, Barney.
Hi, Barney. Are you ready to see what he actually got tattooed, though?
Okay.
You're going to piss yourself laughing.
Oh, no.
I'll explain afterwards. But for now, I just need to show you.
What's the name of the band that Barney's in?
Sonic Boom 6. They're a great band. Check them out.
Okay, can I just say?
Tell us what you see, Isla.
What I see is some lovely flowers. And in those flowers it's not a clog. What's it called?
It's a croc.
A croc. It's a croc. But also, the other thing is, if you zoom out, Barney's foot looks tiny, like disproportionately tiny. Why has he got a croc with two flowers? I mean, I would say that is a very beautiful looking croc.
I mean, the tattoo is done very well.
It's done very well.
It's because Barney has a pair of Crocs that he got probably about a year ago that he's super proud of. He wears them many places and faces a lot of criticism for them because
they're so comfy, Crocs, aren't they?
They're a choice, aren't they? That not everyone will agree with.
I wear mine in the garden.
So Barney is happy to wear them in the street, at punk festivals, apparently, on transport, wherever. And good for him. Good for him. It's not hurting anyone. He's comfortable. He's happy. So when we saw that one of their flashes was a croc, I was like, Barney, you got to get a croc tattoo. And he was like, do I? And I was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're both. That's irresponsible, Dee. You were drunk, persuading a drunk to get a tattoo of a croc.
There were two sober people there, presumably. Maybe they were drunk.
The tattooist, hopefully, was one of them.
Yeah, I was talking about the tattooist. Yeah, so now Barney has a croc tattoo on his leg.
So funny. Oh my God.
And I have this cute little dragon.
Remind me never to go into a tattoo place with you drunk. Ever. Ever.
Don't go into a tattoo parlor with me unless you want a tattoo in that moment, is the long and the short of it.
Fair enough.
I mean, Barney doesn't need to take much convincing. And I should say he's quite heavily tattooed. So it's not like...
It's not his first one.
I convinced him to get his first tattoo and it's a fucking croc, you know?
I do like the dragon though. It's very cute. It's like a little anime dragon almost.
Real cute. She's so cute. She's going to look cuter when she's not scabby. But I will post pictures. And thank you, Julia, for tattooing me, even though I was wasted, and doing a good job, even though I bled a lot because I was 90% alcohol. Sauce. All right. I am going to go to the 60s day.
I'm going to go for Sunday
Peace and love and frozen margaritas, because apparently they're
jealous.
All right. You are also dressed 60s by coincidence.
I am.
Because you're going to come with me in spirit.
Yeah. I am. But I'm going out for Sunday roast and a walk by the river.
Oh, amazing. All right. Well, we hope you all have an equally awesome day planned, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Love you. Love you, sexy listeners. Bye.
Love you. Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts, and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.